Welcome back to Abuja to join Professor Patience Akpan-Obong, who is a political scientist, also lectures at Arizona State University in the U.S. Morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, looking at this preparations for the elections, but two things pop out here. Both leading parties are of the opinion, in fact, they beat their chest any opportunity you give to them, saying, we will win the elections. But we know there must be a loser. How do we handle this? Because on that day, somebody will win, another will lose.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. That's a very important question because as the last person, your last guest, who incidentally was my editor back in Sunday Concord, as he said, he's so convinced that his party will win. And so you, one of your panelists rightly asked the question, what happens if they lose? So that's where right now there's so much tension in the country because for sure, one party will win and one party will lose. So what happens after that? That's the big question. And I think that's part of the, that underscores the preparations that INEC, the police, and everybody trying to do right now. So I don't know what is going to happen, but all I know is that this is the most intense election I think that Nigerians have ever had. People are so invested in this election. Nigerians, ordinary people, are so invested. I've been in the country for 2 months now, and I've talked to people from all sectors. Everybody is invested in this election, emotionally invested, economically invested, and politically invested. Nigeria has come to it's like we're standing on a cliff right now, and it's going to take a little push to push us over the cliff. But I think Nigerians are resilient and hopefully smart enough not to go over the cliff. So the question remains, what happens? What happens if APC wins and PDP loses, or PDP wins and APC loses? How do Nigerians handle that? I don't know. We still have just a few more days, and I think we need to continue to talk to Nigerians to tell them that win or lose, the country must go on. I saw a poster in Sapele over the weekend, something about, after the election, we'll still be family, we'll still be friends. We need to start telling Nigerians that this election will come and go, but we are still here. And I don't know if there's any magic way to handle that, except just continue to tell people that we are still here, we'll still be friends. You find in families where there are PDP members, APC members, at the end of this election, after Saturday, there'll still be brothers and sisters, there'll still be parents and children. And so that's the message we need to pass on to Nigerians, that Saturday will come and go, but we are still here. We need to find a way that we will handle whatever the outcome of that election is going to be.
I'm excited that you're bringing this to the fore, which is very, very key here. We all need a nation after the elections, irrespective of our political leaning. Basically, you're also worried you don't know what form of medium that we can use to tell the people how important this is for us. But it's barely 72 hours to the elections. How much do we expect of the political parties to also sell this message you have just given us? Because I think if they jump into the arena with such kind of message, it just might make the difference.
Yeah, I think the parties have a responsibility. Again, back to Mr. Alake, who said something about, if the elections are free and fair, APC will win. So what I read from that is, so if APC loses, does that mean the elections are not free and fair? And he also said something to the effect that Nigerians will be happy when they see a free and fair elections. There are so many ways of interpreting that, but I know he wasn't, trying to say Nigerians will agitate if the elections are not free and fair. In other words, if APC doesn't win. So I think we as Nigerians, and especially the political parties and those who speak for the parties, need to be careful with the words that they use. I don't want a situation where PDP supporters think, okay, if they lose, it wasn't free and fair, therefore they get agitated and they turn to violence. Or APC supporters thinking that if their party doesn't win, it means the elections were not free and fair. So the parties have a responsibility, their spokespeople have a responsibility to tell Nigerians that this is politics. There are going to be losers and there are going to be winners, but the winners really are Nigerians, how they handle the outcome of that election. So the parties have a responsibility through their agents, through their grassroots people to tell people that, it's okay, however it's going to be. But there's also a responsibility that INEC has, and whoever they please and whatever, to ensure that the elections are free, transparently free, and fair. Again, like he said, back June 12th, I was also there, and I saw the option, they used option A4. It was funny then, but it was like, stand there and you be counted, and you saw what was going on. I monitored the elections as a reporter, and I was part of that process. So Nigerians were able to accept that because they saw it as transparently free and fair. Things have changed. It's a long time since June 12th, and so much has happened during the interim. So now we are faced with a situation where, for the first time in this country, the incumbent administration is not just walking through an election. Indeed, until 6 weeks ago, I think there was that taken for grantedness that the incumbent administration was just going to it's a walk in the park. All of a sudden, it's not a walk in the park. So the interests, again, have become really vested, and everybody is determined. Nobody wants to lose, especially the incumbent administration. Nobody wants to lose. And the opposition thinks it has a really good chance to win. And so nobody wants to lose. But at the end of the day, there's going to be a loser. There's going to be a winner at the electoral, at the polls. That doesn't mean that because you lose a position means you're a loser. So we need to ensure that the elections themselves, the process itself, are free and transparently so. So that, however, whatever the outcome is, people will walk away satisfied that they did their best and accept the outcome.
There's this other perspective, because while they all say that, yes, it has to be free and fair, if it's not free and fair, of course, everybody will be angry if it's not, most of them. Nobody seems to be saying, well, if it's not free and fair, we will go to court, because it's the courts that will actually determine whether or not it's free and fair. If anyone feels it's not free and fair, it's at best their opinion. And so does that mean, what does that say about the judiciary here? So much confidence or a lot less?
All right, that's an important point. Yeah, we're not hearing a whole lot of we'll go to court, but that people must defend their vote. So again, when you read between the lines, how do people defend their vote in this system? So the courts remain an option, but I have a feeling Nigerians don't have a lot of faith in the judiciary. I'm sorry, I have a lot of friends who are judges and magistrates. I'm sorry to say that, because it seems that everything is cash and carry in this country, unfortunately. So, but at the same time, the courts still remain an option. And I also hope that the political parties will consider that as an option, rather than giving out a message that their supporters must protect their vote. There are so many ways of protecting a vote. You stand there and the result is out, and you were sure that your party was going to win, but the result comes out and your party doesn't win. You want to protect your vote. How do you do that? Do you do that at that moment violently, or do you go home and retool, and on Monday you go to the court? So that's the judiciary remains an option. Whether it's a viable option is a different story.
Now, the question will be, I think that the agitations are more about the consequences of what might happen if the elections are not seen to be free and fair. The fact that we've been talking about violence for a while. How soundly do you think that people have imbibed that message of not acting, even in the face of provocation, not taking the laws into their hands? Do you think that that message has gone round widely enough?
I think the message has gone out. Question is, has the message been received? I have seen a lot of commercials on TV, a lot of flyers and all by independent organizations asking for peace and asking Nigerians, to behave positively, regardless of the outcome of the election. So the message is out. I don't know how much Nigerians are accepting that message, are receiving that message, are imbibing that message, and are willing to act that message. Again, I've traveled a bit in the last 2 months, and I've seen some of those posters about peace, some of the things about, we are still family, we'll still be family after all of this. But I've also heard some Nigerians really, really holding strong opinions about what they expect to see on Saturday and what they do not expect to see, and how they are going to act based on what they say. Again, what I can say is we just keep pushing out the message, and hopefully just the narrative that the elections will come and go. Saturday will be here soon enough. And after that, we go back home. We are still families. We are still Nigerians, regardless of what happens.
How confident are you that this polls will go as planned and that the process will be credible?
The truth is that I'm not very confident. I'm not very confident, but I also know that INEC is preparing really well. INEC is doing its best to make sure that it is free and fair. And I think Professor Jega has a reputation. I think for him, it's like there's so much at stake with this election. And he has, I think, I don't know him in person, but from what I see, his body language and when he speaks publicly, press conferences and whatever, I think for him it's like this is his magnum opus. This is one thing that he has to do correctly. Unfortunately, his best effort may not be seen as being done correctly. As you know, some parties are accusing him of being biased towards, one other party,
okay,
and all of that. I kind of feel sorry for him because no matter what happens on Saturday, I'm not sure he will achieve his goal of making this the best thing, his biggest work ever.
All right, Prof,
I don't know.
We have to go. Thank you very much indeed, and I wonder how your class will be when you tell them, look, 1 + 1, this is not maths. Politics is not the way you think it is back home here. But thank you, Prof, for speaking with us today. We appreciate your coming. Professor Patience Akpan-Obong is a political scientist and lectures in Arizona State University in the U.S. We'll be back in just a moment, or maybe more. Join us again.